so golden. What you got, you're the golden child. I see forever between you and me, forever between us.
Welcome back to the Black in Real Life podcast. It's your girl, Anuli, here with a new episode. America celebrates its independence today, but the truth remains that we are not all free. In the past week alone, the Supreme Court effectively ended affirmative action in higher education by deciding that the race conscious approach to admissions at Harvard and UNC is unconstitutional. And if that wasn't enough, the Supreme Court went on to rule against President Biden's federal student loan forgiveness plan. I could go on to list more ways that our collective freedoms, especially the freedoms of Black people, have been limited this year alone, but I won't do that today. I want to instead introduce this episode's guest, who I hope inspires you to see that it is possible to be aware of certain constraints or truths that may structure your life, but not to be wholly limited or stifled by them. If you are in a season of transition or are looking to pivot professionally, then this is the episode for you. As In Vogue wisely instructed us, free your mind and the rest will follow. This episode's featured guest is Kimberly Binns. Kimberly Binns is an interdisciplinary artist and producer working in digital media, architectural design, painting, drawing, and photography. Her projection mapping and moving image installations have been central elements to a number of award-winning projects, including the Praise House Project. She is also a recent recipient of the prestigious Susie Bass Award for Projection Design and has the distinction of being a Hambridge Creative Arts Residency Fellow. Originally from Washington, D.C., Kimberly received her Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Georgia State University and currently works and lives in Atlanta, Georgia. In this episode of the Black in Real Life podcast, Kimberly and I talk about how to understand yourself well enough to know what environments you work best in. We also talk about determining when it is time to pivot or change careers and what it means to truly have a curatorial eye. As always, at the end of each episode, I will come back to share a few key takeaways that stood out to me from the conversation. These takeaways will be supplemented with research from both academic and non-academic sources to add further context to subjects that were brought up in the interview portion. For every episode, I will include citations to the reference materials I mentioned, as well as some additional background reading for you on the Black in Real Life website. Visit www.blkirl.com to nerd out. Thank you so much for your time here today, Kimberly. I wanted to start by asking you, where do you call home?
Oh, home is Atlanta, Georgia. I moved here in the early 90s.
Okay.
I'm originally from Washington, D.C.
So you said early 90s. So now I have to ask, before or after the 96 games?
It was before.
Okay. So did you notice the city kind of
Yes.
transitioning? Okay.
You don't even have to finish the question.
Well, I'm curious. Tell me about that. Yeah. What was that like?
So I moved here in either 92 or 93. So I was here pre-Olympics and, during Free Pick, like original. I'm an OG.
Okay. Did you go?
I did. I went to one, and that was good for me.
Okay.
That was good for me. when I moved here, I lived in a predominantly Black part of the city called the West End. And it is still mostly predominantly Black, but it is, like everywhere else, quickly gentrifying. And when the Olympics was announced, just the city was abuzz. It was a huge deal, obviously. And everywhere, neighborhoods were being cleaned up and streets were being repaved and benches were being put out and trash cans were, put in place. And, it was like this mad dash to, put glitter on the city. And I can remember distinctly, there's a major intersection in the West End community. It's at the intersection of Ralph David Abernathy and Lee Street.
Okay.
And I remember there was like construction going on, like in the intersection. They were improving the intersection. So, crosswalks and, things that should have been in the neighborhood already. So there's this construction going on, these improvements happening. And I'm thinking, oh, wow, this is great. Maybe they will bring some of that a little further down the street, into the neighborhood a little bit more. And that did not happen. Literally the only thing that was done in the West End was they repaved that intersection, just like put some bricks and, like prettied it up and put a design in the intersection. And that was it. Nothing else happened in the West End. So the Olympics did not do anything for us. But yeah, I've lived here a long time. I feel like I've seen the city transition 5 times over. There were structures and buildings that were here when I moved here. And, maybe in just a few short years, like in 3 years, they were gone and put, something else put in their place. And now those buildings are being torn down and replaced with something else. So it's been a lot. There's been a lot of transition here. It's pretty crazy. But when I go home to DC, it's the same. I drove by the house my mom and I, the apartment building my mom and I lived in for many years, and didn't even recognize the street, the block.
I believe that. I believe it.
So yeah, it's everywhere. But Atlanta has been home for me, and it's been a great place for me creatively. I have an amazing group of friends, and I call them family. Because when your friends are just that close to you and they're so supportive and we have each other's back, literally. And I'm just so grateful. And I really don't think that I'm not sure that any other place has this sort of closeness in its creative community. We really, really do lift each other up and support one another. And I think that's pretty unique. I have many artist friends who have worked in other cities or have gone away for a while and have come back. And every time they come back, they say, it's just, Atlanta is just different. It really is kind of a special, unique atmosphere for creatives that live here. You can live here and work here.
I am curious also hearing more about your background being from DC. I'm actually was born in DC myself, raised in Maryland. So I am curious about like how it was to grow up in DC. Like, did you grow up in the city proper or outside of it? And then also what brought you to Atlanta then?
So a little bit of both. I was born in DC on the campus of Howard University, as a matter of fact.
I went to Howard University.
Okay, so I was born. Okay, so it's not there now, but
I'm sure it's not. Nothing is there.
Nothing is there. Freedman's Hospital was
exactly right.
Okay. Freedman's Hospital. That's where I was born.
Freedman's Hospital is actually what the School of
School of
Communications,
Communications.
which is where
So
I
funny.
went.
So funny story. So back in the day, late 80s, early 90s, I was in high school, and DC used to have, I don't know if they still have it, but they had this summer youth work program. And high school students as young as 14 could apply and go to work somewhere in the city. It was a really unique program. The city would partner with some government agencies or, some other private sectors, business sectors, and kids would, teenagers could work at these places. So one of my very first Marion Barry's summer youth program jobs was at the School of Communications at Howard University. I remember I was with a group of other high schoolers, and we basically got paid minimum wage. Let me just put that out there. We got paid minimum wage, but still it was money, to learn to work at the School of Communications. But what we were doing was really, it wasn't really a job necessarily. It was more of like a program.
And getting kids off the streets or something?
Getting kids off the streets. And I remember in this particular program that I was in, we had someone who was teaching us very, very basic things about journalism. And I remember we each had to choose a topic and go out and source, information about this topic, find someone to interview about whatever topic we chose, and then write about it. And that was the summer job.
So you're a journalist.
I am not a journalist.
I mean, you were a journalist.
For that summer.
Yeah, that's what they were teaching.
Whatever it was. Yeah. So it was, it was kind of neat. It was a full circle moment. And to hear that you attended, and
I did
that's pretty cool.
A class like that, and they made us do assignments just like that. My minor was broadcast journalism, so I'm like,
okay,
a lot of connections. But
that's pretty awesome.
You were a journalist that summer, but now you are an interdisciplinary artist.
I am, and so I'll run through my journey. I did not grow up in a creative or artistic household. That was not something that was on our radar. I've always been creative, and I've always had a very curious mind about things, and I've always appreciated artsy things. I'm using the word artsy because that's the back in the day, that's what that's how I would identify things. Yeah. So I've always, it's all that creative bent has always been in me. It's always been a part of me, but actively engaging in any arts related things just wasn't something that was top of mind in our household growing up. I will say the benefit of coming up in DC is you have the Smithsonian, which is free. And I would just go downtown and go to the Portrait Gallery, the National Gallery of Art, and just walk around. I didn't necessarily understand what I was looking at from an academic sense. If there was a Caravaggio, I didn't know who or what that meant, but I did, just engage in some self-exposure. And I found that when I went to those places, it was peaceful, it was calming, I felt good. And I think that may have been the beginnings of me learning to appreciate art. I will say that music, however, was something that was very much a part of my life. I played cello in 3rd grade, and I played flute for a little while. And of course, when I came up, I was part of the generation that was introduced to MTV. So that whole aspect, having that platform, just, man, it was really, really just game changing. But I've always loved music. My dad was a DJ back in the day, and he exposed me to a lot of different music, a lot of different genres, and to this day, I carry that with me. My mother, she did enjoy going to plays whenever she had a chance. They were far and few in between, but she did enjoy that. And so, although I said arts was not an active part of our daily life and existence, there were some things there. But so even though I kind of put myself in those environments, it's still art as a profession or any sort of creative lifestyle was not something that was just on my radar. I didn't see myself doing those things. I thought that's something that other people do.
What did you see yourself doing?
For a long time, I didn't really know.
That's fair.
After I graduated high school, I started out at Virginia Commonwealth University. And just like most freshmen, just kind of flailing in the wind and not really, I was just there, just trying to figure it out. And
what was your major?
My major was, I think initially it was communications, because I think that was just like I think that was just the thing, right? I
you had that experience.
It was a remnant. Yeah, I had that experience. It was a remnant of that summer youth program. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I got to do something. So I'm doing this. And then I switched over to philosophy with the idea of continuing on to law school somewhere down the road. Fast forward a few years, I'm kind of in my everyday drudgery, grown-up life, bills, doing all the grown-up things and not living a creative life at all. I just did a little self-reflecting, and I was like, I really want to do something else. And I really want to be an authority on something creative. I want to be a person that somebody comes to and asks about whatever it is. So the entry point for me was design, like interior design. First decorating and then design. And I was really, really into the home shows that were starting to come online. Like when HGTV first began. The shows that they had on those networks at the time were truly, they weren't reality shows like we know them today. They were the first iterations of reality shows, but not scripted or just craziness going on. So there was this element of realness, because they would have like real designers, helping families out with whatever. And I was fascinated by that. And I was like, oh, I like that. I like looking at pretty things in my house. I like a nice environment.
Too bad the audience can't see that you have a beautiful background. Like your home is gorgeous.
Thank you. And I said, I want that for myself. If not just, to literally have it for myself in my house. I want to be able to help others attain this, level of beauty in their home. So I went back to school and got a fine arts degree in commercial interior design. Now, when this happened, once I got that degree, it was in the height of the housing crisis. So no houses to decorate, no design firms were checking for anybody. I can't tell you how many resumes and phone calls, and this was like beginnings of internet, people. So you still wrote letters, at least you wrote a letter out in an email. But I can't tell you how just the reach. I was sending things out everywhere, and it was crickets. So I was like, man, this sucks. What to do? Finally, I did, start working with a woman. She had an independent firm and she specialized in senior downsizing and relocation. So,
Okay.
like when families were helping their parents or their senior loved ones downsized, maybe to move to a smaller home or maybe to move into assisted living. This woman I worked with, that was what her company did. Her company helped to facilitate that transition. And what my role was to do space planning and design, just basically showing people where their furniture was going to go.
Gotcha.
Very, very low key. This was not high end, this was not my high design dream of designing in Japan, for the leading design house or whatever. It was not that, but it was something. And, it kept me kind of in this creative zone. And this would have been around 2010, no, sorry, before that.
You said the housing crisis.
Yeah, yeah.
07,
So
08?
to yeah, well, I got my degree in 2010.
Okay.
But we were still feeling it was still there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was still there. So, but this would have been 2000 between 2009, 2012. Just kind of in that area, in that time frame, when I was working with this woman, and I'm working with her at school. And just randomly, I I met a gentleman who had a small film company that he was trying to get off the ground. Again, this was when everybody was a videographer. Everybody
There was a moment.
Movies.
There's a lot of web
There was
series
that
around
moment.
that time. Yeah.
There was that moment. So I don't even remember where or how we met or how we connected. But I worked with him on a few projects as a script supervisor. So helping him in the production, just keeping productions on track and that sort of thing. In the midst of all of this, I had started, I'd started connecting with, meeting new friends, meeting new people in the artist community. Mm-hmm. And one of those people is my partner, Fabian Williams. We actually met at an event at the Atlanta Contemporary Museum that was being hosted by my now other friend, Fahamu Piku. He used to do these series that were kind of like a art talk show situation. If you could imagine like a Jay Leno,
okay.
Colbert, excuse
Jimmy
me.
Fallon, that type of.
Yeah. It was that format, but he talked about art. And he would have
that.
Yeah, he would have three, he'd have panelists on. And this particular night that I went, he had Michael Rooks, who is with the High Museum. Michael Rooks is curator at the High Museum. Dion Ferris, who is a singer-songwriter. She was with Arrested Development. And Jason Orr, who is a culture creator here and the creator of what is the name of the series? It's a music series, live music series that he put together and ran for like a decade. But anyway, so the young man who was emceeing the event is Fabian Williams. He's an artist, and that's where we met. And so that meeting of all of those people that night was really a catalyst for me, because now, just kind of looking back, everyone that was in the audience, they're all my friends. And they are all artists. They're all visual artists, and they all work in different mediums, and just it's really amazing. Yeah. So once I kind of found myself in this community, I'm just inserting myself wherever. I'm just trying to work, pay bills, and just keep things going. And in my education, in my design program, as a designer, as an artist, when you are in a fine arts program, you have to take a lot of foundation courses.
Mhm.
So photography was one of those foundation courses that I took. Before that, I had always, just kind of, I was an amateur photographer, just for leisure. And Fabian had a project. He was like, hey, I've got these videos of this event that I, need edited. Is that something you can help me with? And I was like, yeah, I guess, I don't know. So he just showed me, real briefly how to use editing software. And I just picked it up and ran with it. So what came of that is a few years of me doing video work, doing post-production editing work. That kind of turned into a bread and butter moment for me.
On top of your design work?
Yeah.
Okay.
So on top of my design work, but also the design piece was kind of winding itself down. And I'll tell you the reason why. For as glamorous and awesome that people think architecture and design work, like true design work, like you working at a design firm, it is highly administrative. Because when you're designing things, yes, you're designing stuff, but if you're let's say you're designing an apartment building, there are standard practices that are involved in creating floor plans. At the end of the day, it's really all about the bottom line. What maximum can we get for the minimum? And in a lot of ways, it can be a little stifling to your creativity. And I also realized that working in an office environment is not the best environment for me. Okay. I found myself sitting at a desk, daydreaming about other things, using the company's internet to look up other things and research other things. So I think it's important to say that, because it's really, for anyone who's thinking about, maybe segueing into a creative career, whatever it is, you have to have these know thyself moments. And that was my know thyself moment. I said, okay, you know what? Because by this point, I had found work in 2 different firms, and I'd been let go by both of them. And I was like, what is this? Because it was crazy. They'd come to me and they'd be like, Kim, we love you. And we think that you're just so. And my mother just thought you were the what, but we just can't keep you here. And I'm like, well, do y'all really like me? Like, what's going on here? And it took me a long time to really understand, sometimes people see us differently than we see ourselves.
Yes. Yeah.
And I look back on those times of me being let go from, whatever, as somebody understanding that maybe my vision or the way I worked or whatever was grander or bigger or more flexible than what was being offered. The box. Yeah. But I wasn't saying that for myself. But I look back on those experiences now as being that. I was like, oh, okay, thank you for firing me. Thank you. So as that was winding down, this videography piece of me and this, the editing piece of me, that started ramping up. And how that even happened was, although I started doing things for friends, one day I went to an event. I was not hired. I was not asked to do this. I went to an event, an art event, and I just had my camera and I was just going around, capturing footage. I went home and on my own created a 3-minute, 2-minute recap video of that event and sent it to the place, to the venue. And I was like, hey, I did this thing. I thought you might like it. So. And then they reached out to me for their next big fundraising event. And they were like, hey, can we hire you to do this, that, and a third? And I was like, oh, okay. And so that's how that happened. Now, this was entry level. But the fact that I had put myself out there.
Yes, you took
and
initiative.
I took the initiative and just really believing in these vast skill sets that I have, because there are lots of things I know how to do. I need to put them to use. So that's how that really kicked off for me. So for a few years, just kind of, stayed in that zone of doing video and working and editing and started thinking, I would like to expand and do other things. I'm not sure what those things are, but let me just see what's what.
Oh, do you mind if I ask a question? Because I think this is important for people to hear as far as like context.
Mm-hmm.
What like age range were you in? Because I know a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
they worry about like pivoting second careers, things like that.
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, I was in my 30s.
Okay.
I was in my 30s. As a matter of fact, I was just turning 33,
Okay.
34, somewhere in there. So yeah, like I said, I was a grown up with bills in a real life when I decided to make this shift. And I do want to say it is really important for people to understand that I didn't wait. I wasn't like waiting for the right time to do whatever. Because if I was waiting, I'd still be waiting and miserable. You have to, and it's scary because, you got to eat.
Yes.
And if you have family to take care of, you got,
they got to eat too.
They got to eat too. And if you are partnered, which I wasn't at the time, I was kind of in between. Mm-hmm. But if you are partnered, your partner needs to be able to be supportive of, of your whatever your venture might be. So, but yeah, no, I was a grown up. I was not fresh out of college. I was not, that was not my situation. I did a complete turnaround. I was in a completely different corporate life. And I just decided, I'm good on that. Let me try this. So yeah, but thank you for asking that.
I want you to continue this timeline because now you're picking up these different skill sets. You're exploring like what a creative life for yourself could look like. But now going forward a little bit, but also we'll go back. Now you call yourself an interdisciplinary artist. How did you arrive at that title? When did you first realize like I'm an artist?
The first time I realized I'm an artist was when I won my first competition for photography. There's an organization here, Atlanta Celebrates Photography. Every year they have this pushpin show. Basically anybody, it's open to anybody, Joe Schmo off the street. If you got some photos, you want to post them, pin them up in the show, do that, and they'll be judged. And I did that. I had some photographs that I had taken probably 10 years prior, honestly. And I put those in the show and I won first place in the adult category. So I was like, oh, this is a thing. Okay, that's great. And then shortly after that, I kind of sought out those types of things. If there were any open calls for just like public pinup shows. Pinup shows are a great way to just kind of put some things out there, and that's what I would do. So the very next thing I did was another pinup show at MoCA GA, which is the Museum of Contemporary Art of Georgia. And somebody bought my little piece for $100. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. So it just started, the embers were smoldering. And that's when I realized, oh, okay, this is something that I can pursue. Now, this was not a hot pan in the fire frying sort of situation. This was a slow, this was a slow process for me because again, it was new. Yeah, it was new. I didn't know. I think what was helpful was I did have the benefit of having friends who were also artists and who were also kind of in the beginnings of their journey, and we would collaborate on things. So that was really, really helpful for me. Yeah. So, as time went on, I just started putting my work into more shows. I would put my work in auctions. A lot of arts organizations have their fundraising auctions. So I would do that. And when my pieces would sell, that's like, okay, that's what it was. So then I decided, okay, well, yeah, this is something I can pursue. Let me meander and figure out what works for me. So fast forward, maybe a little bit, jumping ahead to today, and the exhibit that you came to, that you saw.
Homefront.
Homefront, yes, Homefront. That exhibition really was a view into my journey, working myself through my creative process, my artistic practice, which is fluid. It's always shifting because I'm always thinking of other ways to do things, or other ways to convey, whatever it is I want my art to convey, or however I want it to be perceived. Process is just that, like, it's process, it's ongoing. So I call myself an interdisciplinary artist because I infuse all of the things that I have learned: photography, digital video, graphic design, drawing and painting, like all of these things I put into the work. So that's how I arrived at calling myself that, or identifying myself, I should say, as an interdisciplinary artist. And, I work collaboratively with other artists. I've done video installations, public art installations. There are just so many things that I do. I going back to those people in the office who told me I couldn't be in their box anymore. That's me. I can't really put myself in this one box of, I just work in this medium, or I just do this thing. So I think that's very, very much what I am, just kind of out of the box.
I want to talk about your creative process. I'm curious about, like, let's use your Homefront show as an example. What was the process for that? Like, how do you determine whether, like, a concept is worthy to dedicate a whole full show to? And then how do you determine what the best medium to express that concept in?
Yes. So gosh, there's so many things. I read a lot and I research things, and I'm very much a student of history. I like knowing history, and I like understanding the context of things. I am the type of person who just, like I said earlier, I'm just a naturally curious person, and I just like to understand stuff. And often when I'm just, maybe randomly, I don't know, on a university's research website about whatever topic, I might read a line about a Black woman who helped to quietly pioneer some sort of, new research technology. Okay, well, who is this woman? Who is this person? I've never heard of her. And I will take that little piece and go find her, go find that person, go find that story. So a lot of my subject matter kind of starts out that way. Now, Homefront, that show was really, the basis of that show was tied to the legacy of housing segregationist policies, have reverberated within Black communities, and what those policies have meant for our communities for generations, and a big part of that, a big part of how those policies have affected, our homesteads and even where and how we can live, is community erasure. A lot of those policies contributed to Black folks being driven out of their communities, or their communities being deemed uninhabitable because they were redlined, in industrial areas. There's a lot of historical context to that. One big thing I like to bring up is Flint, Michigan, right? The water
Mhm.
crisis in Flint, Michigan, because that's kind of news, top of mind. It's one of the more recent issues, environmental issues. Well, we have to understand that the reason why that crises happened was for several reasons. The primary reason being that community, which is primarily Black and primarily low income, that community was relegated to living there
Mhm.
next to industrial sites. Why? Because of redlining practices that kept Black people from
Mhm.
moving and living in other parts of town. Like, that's a fact. That's not conjecture. It's not fake
Not
news.
debate. Yeah. Can't debate that.
Right. It's documented. And in the exhibition, this documentation was highlighted in the large scale images that I had
Mhm.
of the Federal Housing Handbook.
Mhm.
There's language that they had in the handbook. This is the federal government's housing authority, their rules.
Mhm.
And it's right there in black and white. Black people cannot live in certain neighborhoods. Like, it's there. And I felt like for all of the things that we are still, protesting about and marching for and asking for, and for all of the things that we have to understand why, and we also need to understand the historical context
Mhm.
of why we continue to have to protest for our rights and march for equitable anything. It's because these practices, although legally not enforced, their enforcement in the 50s and even the 60s is affecting us today. So the Work and Home Front was a combination of actually 3 different bodies of work. But the through line in all of that work was this community erasure element, the notion of anti-Blackness in this country,
Mhm.
and just understanding that we as Black folks, we have fought for our communities. We have fought to have our homes safe. We have fought for these
Yes.
things because we want these things.
Still
We
fighting.
don't We're still fighting.
Like
We're
Summer
still
Hill,
fighting.
right here, Peoplestown.
Yeah. Yes. So it was important for me to convey that in the art, but the challenge, to your point of like how do I go about choosing a way to do that? That was a challenge for me because I created, some fine art pieces, but I also had these, large scale photo collages
Mhm.
that, had elements of, again, this redlining text or actual text from community covenants and that sort of thing, and I just felt like people need to see it. People need to see it. I also use video and projections as another means of conveying this information, just really thinking of ways that people can grasp the information and be impacted by it. And I do have to say that people who came to the show, there was a lot of information in the show.
Yes.
People who came to the show, they would come and they would walk through and then come and just hang out and talk about what they just saw for 30, 40 minutes because it spoke to them. They understood it. Or in some cases, some of our allies, they would come in and see this and would be like, oh my God, I did not know. Oh my God, this is, oh my, wow. Oh, this, oh, I can't. And that's what I want.
Mhm.
I want you, whoever you are, to come away having learned something, having developed an understanding, a greater understanding of something, and hopefully, having come away with a different perspective on why, Black communities, poor communities, communities of color are fighting the way that we are. We're not just living in a vacuum. We're not just waking up saying, oh, you know what, I just feel angry, or I feel upset, or we're not just saying that. We are tired. We're tired. And yeah, so that's how I, just go about figuring out what to do. And a lot of times the content will let me know. I might say, oh, I think it would be good to do a piece, using these elements. But then the elements will say, you know what, I think we need to be heard in a video, or we need to be seen in a projection, or we need to be, conveyed in a large scale collage, digital collage piece. So it's really there's a word for intuitive. That's the word I'm trying to use. Yeah. So my process is an intuitive process. I'm not necessarily a sketchbook artist. There's some artists who they sketch out whatever it is they're going to do, and that's what they do. I am more hands-on.
Do you see visuals of it in your head?
Moment. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. And I'll, just, I might, sketch out, do a rough schematic of whatever it is I have an idea for, just as a starting point. But it never turns out exactly how, whatever that schematic is. But, as I'm reading something, so if an idea comes up in my head, then I'll just, sketch out whatever it is comes to me in that moment. Yeah, it's very fluid, it's very intuitive, it's not contrived. And this is something else. Our artists, each artist has their own way of doing things. I find that I need to step away from things sometimes, just kind of be in it for an hour, 2 hours, and then I need to step away, just give myself a mental break.
What are you doing on those breaks? Like, how do you spend that time?
So I always work to music.
Okay.
Always work to music. So something else I didn't share. I am an avid karaokeer. Like I have my own karaoke. I have my own karaoke stage name. These artist friends that I was telling you about years ago, we had a group called the Yo Karaoke Disciples, and we met weekly.
So that was your machine that you used for the artist talk.
Yes.
Okay.
You hear me say that? I told you. I said this is my setup that I brought from home. So yeah, so like every week this was, back in 2013, maybe 2012, every week for like 3 years, weekly, I was. Run
it back. I want to go.
Listen, we've been working on it. Working on it. But anyway, that's what I do. I will take a break and, put on a song, sing,
what song?
Whatever I'm feeling in the moment.
One of your top, like in my pocket, this is a song I'll do.
Okay, so I can always do, there's a song called Lights by Journey. I'm big on 80s. I'm big on 80s.
Okay.
There's this song, it's called Lights by Journey. I love Prince. I Want to Be Your Lover. Listen, there's so many. There's some country western songs that I sing. So it just depends on what my mood is in that moment. That's my process. That is my process. It's not just sit down and drudge through it. It's very much a ethereal sort of, okay, this is what I'm doing. Okay, let me get this. Oh, all right. I had this idea, but this idea has popped into my head. So let's see how that works.
When do you feel most like yourself?
That's a good question. When do I feel most like myself? You got me on that one. I mean, I feel like I hope this doesn't sound like a cop-out answer, but I feel like I feel most like myself. Oh, I'll tell you when I do. I feel most like myself when my hair is big and up, like it is now. This is actually kind of tame compared
Kind of
to
like so I'm just trying to describe to the listeners, it's like a fro hawk style that I
yes.
see going.
Yes, it's all kinds of things. It's a lot of things. But I feel most like myself when I'm just free with, with my hair. And also when I'm cooking. I'm a great cook and I love to cook and I love eating good stuff. And I feel most like myself when I'm in my studio, just kind of milling around. Sometimes I go to the studio and I won't do any art. I'll just go just to be there. And that's just as important as being there and actually putting something on canvas or on paper or whatever it is, because I do a lot of tinkering. I feel most like myself in those moments too.
You talked about being free in reference to your hair, but I'm curious what freedom means to you in general.
Freedom in general means options.
That's real.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel free?
Having options? I do.
Okay.
I do. Yeah. And I don't just mean and when I say options, I mean options in whatever area of your life. If it's, financial options, if it's, job options, if it's partner options, like if you just having the ability and agency to choose your path and do the things that you want to do and need to do. That is freedom.
Do you think that it's possible to be truly healthy and whole under the conditions of the world that we live in?
It is, but it takes work. It takes work. And you have to curate what you consume visually in your life. You have to curate who is in your life, the people you bring into your space. You have to curate and edit those things. And that is how I think you can be healthy and thrive under these conditions, because these streets is real.
It's trash. It's real trash.
It is trash. It is trash. It is trash. It takes a lot. I have a young son. He's 7. And I have to say, I'm always just thinking about what it's going to be for him. I think he'll be okay because he has me and his dad as his parents. And, we are guiding him on his path, but instilling in him now that he has agency and he can be who he is. And that is okay. That's okay. Yeah. But just thinking about how things are, I wonder, I don't know if I, been a few years younger and coming into this world, just what that would be like for me. Because I feel like it's easy for me to not be in the melee of, social media life and internet life and that sort of thing. I am quick to put on a vacation responder. I was joking. People joke with me all the time. They're like, when I post something, they're like, "Oh, you did this thing," because that's how infrequently I do. But it's really more about just, it's okay to be selective. It's okay. It's okay. I think that's something that's kind of lost on people. It is okay to just, everybody doesn't need to know everything all the time. We really don't. And honestly, it's overwhelming for me, just personally. Whenever I am on social, I get to a point where I'm just like, ooh, I feel it. I feel it physically in my body.
It could be overstimulating. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, I'm good on this. Let me go in here and get this piece of cheese with some prosciutto because I like to eat and that's what I want to do.
It's interesting, like the words, like, like the idea of curating a life, but the way that we use curation as a verb now is also different than like the traditional use, right? Like usually curation is about editing down, but now curation is it seems to be more about bringing a lot of these elements together. And sometimes we skip the editing part and we're just showing a lot of elements. So I'm wondering, as an artist who's kind of seen this transition, how you feel about the way we kind of approach curation today through social media. We could use that.
Yeah. I believe, to your point of the way we use the word curation, I don't think we really do.
Mm,
I don't think we really do. Because truly curating something means that you are taking a critical look
mm,
at what that thing is and why it's relevant. That's what true curation is.
right.
I'm not sure if that's what we do.
So the element of the critical is not as
Mhm.
embedded anymore. It's just like looking at the
Absolutely not.
thing. We're just looking.
It is just looking at the thing. And this is actually a real conversation in the arts community.
Really?
Because, art criticism is, first of all, it's an art form in its own right?
Mm-hmm.
And art criticism is important because we should be talking about the imagery that we're seeing, and we should be thinking about, okay, well, what is this piece or what is this information saying about the world we're living in today? What is it saying about just what's on our minds as a society? That's not something that in the, there are arts publications, many arts publications that have kind of gone by the wayside because nobody's really, reading arts criticism.
Mm.
Reading a write-up about a gallery exhibition or a museum exhibition. That's for those people who might need to know what I'm talking about.
right.
Criticism is not, oh, well,
because there's a lot of criticism on Twitter.
Right. Right. It's not, it's different. There's an element of thoughtfulness in viewing or intaking the information that you're seeing. I think that's the difference. It's one thing there's lots of stuff to see, and I see some beautiful things. I see some beautiful things online. But there are a lot of things I'm just like, okay.
Can I pivot to, I want to ask you a series of like a rapid fire round just to like close off. So this should be fun. So
okay,
like
rapid fire.
So you leaning
rapid
in.
Fire. See me leading in. Okay, let's go.
Okay. What is your astrological big three? Sun, moon, rising, if you're into horoscopes.
Oh, okay. So I'm a Libra.
Okay. And
my partner is Sagittarius.
Okay.
And we are delicious together.
Libra and Sagittarius.
That's
okay. We'll work with that. Those are those sun signs. Are you an extrovert, introvert, or ambivert?
Oh, ambivert.
Okay.
Yeah.
What color have you been drawn to lately?
Teal and yellow. I know I gave you two, but teal and yellow.
That works. Well, we kind of already answered this question, but I'm sure someone like you has so many things to choose from. What do you do for fun?
Yes, karaoke for one. Let's see. Gosh, there are a lot of things I do for fun. I'm very much an outside and outdoorsy kind of person. I have fallen back in love with swimming.
Oh, okay. Love that.
Yeah.
We do and swim camping. For anyone else.
Yeah, we do. Black folks swim.
We swim and we camp. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and I like camping. I do.
Wait, are you a tent girl or a cabin girl? How are we camping?
It depends on the tent situation.
Okay.
I got woods out here in my backyard. I'm not camping out there because I hear things at night. I'm not doing that.
Got you.
But maybe a campground at a state park. I'm good with that. Cabins are cool too.
What do you collect?
Wow. What do I collect? I collect not artifacts, but I collect things that help me make art.
Okay.
And that's random.
Gotcha.
Random things. I have 4 bags of leather scraps in my studio.
Wow. Okay, I see what you mean.
Waiting for me to do something with.
You just don't know yet, but you're like, this could be useful one day.
This is going to come in handy. This is, yeah. So, That's my collection practice.
What are you reading?
I am reading The Sum of Us by Heather McGhee. I just got started.
What are you watching?
Mm. What am I watching? Snowfall.
What are you listening to?
Everything. Like literally everything. I was just playing some Cuban music by Cachao before this call.
I know we were talking about social media a little bit earlier, so it doesn't have to be quite social media, but what are your favorite apps?
Huh.
You can even cop out and use an appetizer. Apps. No one's done that yet, but I like appetizers too. I like food.
No, what are my favorite apps? Probably the ones I just find I use in my favorite app is Duolingo, because I am teaching myself Spanish and I am on a 169-day streak.
Congratulations.
Yes, yo he aprendido español.
Okay. Do you have like a reminder for that to remind you to do it each day, or you just naturally do it?
I just do it. And it's
big.
it is big because I don't know where that came from. I don't know where that came from. I just started one day. I just started one day and I kept at it and I love it. And I'm going to Mexico in 2 weeks for work, for a project.
Oh, that'd be great. You can practice.
Yeah, so I can practice. Yeah. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe the universe was getting me prepared.
Alignment. What's your favorite website?
Ooh. Okay, this is going to be so nerd central.
Love it.
But the Library of Congress.
Okay, that makes sense for you though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. You can find all kinds of good things there. So yeah, that's my favorite website.
Last formal question for you is,
okay,
who is someone that more people should be following?
I can't just name one person.
Okay, let's see.
You should follow me.
Okay. And what's your handles? You got to let the people know.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. So you can follow me. I'll just give you one because I actually have 4.
Okay.
You can follow me at Studio Binns. That's STUDIO _BINNS. I'm on Instagram. And you can also follow me at Binsky on Instagram, BINNSKI. So I gave you 2. You should also follow my very dear friend, Tracy Morell, visual artist.
How do you spell her name?
Oh, Tracy, it's TRACY. And her last name, and her last name is MURELL.
Okay.
My partner in life, in love, and all things wonderful, Fabian Williams, because he really is amazing. And he's just doing the work. Fabian Williams, FABIAN Williams. Gosh, you put me on. Oh, Melissa Alexander. She's a photographer and I love her. And she's just a beautiful spirit. And her work is just lovely. Just lovely. She does photography and she's been doing some short films. Fahamu Peku. Let's see. Charmaine Minifield.
Yes.
And Charmaine's daughter, Sienna, the color Sienna.
The color Sienna, yes.
The color Sienna. They go by they, them pronouns, but they are doing just some beautiful work. There's so many others. I just, after I get off this, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, this person, that person. But that's who I got right now. Wait, okay. One more person. Angela Davis Johnson. I don't know what her handles are.
Okay.
But her work.
I'll look everybody up.
Okay.
I have a notes reference page, so I'll make sure to include everybody.
Gotcha.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Kimberly. This has been
fun.
Thank
you so much. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your interest. I appreciate you just, chatting me up.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with interdisciplinary artist Kimberly Binns. To me, the overarching theme of our conversation was freedom. Freedom is something that has been historically denied to Black people on an institutional level, but it's also something we have found ways to create for ourselves as individuals through the ways we curate what we consume and who we commune with. Kimberly's solo exhibition titled Homefront and Other Memories was on view at the Haga Brooks Gallery in Atlanta's King Historic District earlier this year. For the exhibition, she drew from historical archives of erased Black townships in the metro Atlanta area to highlight how Black townships, post emancipation freedmen's towns, and urban safe havens became the targets of systemic erasure through policies rooted in anti Blackness that continue to impact Black communities today. At the top of our conversation, Kimberly talked about how gentrification has impacted Atlanta's historically Black West End neighborhood. Atlanta's West End neighborhood was named in the 1860s after London's famed theater district and is known for its proximity to the Atlanta University Center, which includes institutions such as Clark Atlanta University, Morehouse College, Morehouse School of Medicine, and Spelman College. The church that I attend, Cornerstone Church ATL, is also located in the west end of Atlanta, so it is an area that I visit often. One development in particular that residents are tracking in the West End are the proposed redevelopment plans for the Mall West End. The Mall West End is a modest shopping center that is located between Oak Street and Ralph David Abernathy Boulevard. Proposals to quote unquote revitalize this community center of commerce have been on the table for years. Potential developers, including West End native and investor Donway Vaughn, Atlanta Beltline visionary Ryan Gravel, and New York based developer Tishman Speyer, have indicated interest in redeveloping the 50-year-old shopping center before ultimately pulling out of the deal for various reasons. As of September 2022, a pair of New York based developers have pursued plans to redevelop the mall into apartments, retail, and a possible hotel. I can't help but to compare these mixed use redevelopment plans to the revitalization efforts that were laid out in the 1995 City of Atlanta Comprehensive Development Plan, or CDP, which focused on the city's preparation for the 1996 Summer Olympic Games. Back then, private funding was brought in to revitalize the Techwood Clark Howell neighborhood in 1995 by transforming the neighborhood into a mixed income community that ultimately pushed out the neighbors' original residents, forcing them to either move elsewhere in Atlanta or to the suburbs. Techwood would serve as a model for the mixed income, mixed use communities that Atlanta would develop in the years to come. Scholars such as George Lipschitz, Brandy T. Summers, and Kienga Yamada Taylor have studied the various ways that the state has limited the mobility of Black Americans since slavery. These anti Black practices include convict leasing, Black codes, loitering laws, redlining, restrictive covenants, racial zoning, legal and illegal redistricting, increased incarceration, and increased surveillance, among the many other practices that I could list. Ultimately, what we learn from these practices is that space plays a critical role in the exercise of power. This is referred to as the racialization of space. The racialization of space means that seemingly race-neutral sites like shopping malls can contain hidden racial assumptions and imperatives. If we, as residents of Atlanta, don't pay attention to the private-public partnerships that run the city, the revitalization of the Mall West End could easily transform the neighborhood into yet another physical manifestation of the now famous James Baldwin quip, "Urban renewal means Negro removal." I am Anuli, and you have just listened to an episode of the Blk in Real Life podcast. The program today was produced, edited, and hosted by Anuli Akanebu, with additional support from Anuli Akanebu. Many thanks to Garth, whose song Wild serves as the official theme song of the Blk in Real Life podcast. Season 3 mashes up Wild with the song If I Ruled the World, Imagine That by Nas featuring Miss Lauryn Hill. For all things Blk in Real Life, visit www.blkirl.com. And remember, as always, the people you follow online are also Blk in real life.